I'm a 28 male and my immediate family is all women. Mostly this is because I was raised by my mother and have no contact with my father's side of the family due to a messy divorce when I was young. My 2 sisters, early 30s, my 3 aunts, 2 who are my mother's sisters and 1 married into the family and married my aunt, and they have an assortment of close friends of the family, all of which are women that also go to these events. About 3 years ago, my mother had an idea to do a girls-only weekend. Originally this was to see one of the Magic Mike movies, and because it was such a hit they started to do these weekend outings once or twice a month. Originally it didn't bother me, because I'm an adult and I have my own life, and my own house, and I really didn't even think about it. But an incident recently made me annoyed at the whole concept. My aunt's birthday was in January and normally we go to her favorite restaurant for her birthday, which also incidentally is my favorite restaurant. So I bought her a present and a card and waited for an invitation and none came. When I asked what was going on for her birthday, I was told they celebrated it early on their girls' day because she was going to be out of state during her birthday. This kind of irked me because when I mentioned I bought her a present, my mother told me to just drive over to her house and give it to her. I felt pretty left out since I am the only male in my immediate family. Having a girls' day is the equivalent to saying, hey, let's celebrate my birthday but not invite him. I griped about and was told that I was basically being self-centered and that she can celebrate her birthday however she wants. I agree with that, but once again, I'm the only one being left out and it feels awful. The proverbial straw that broke the camel's back was I was just informed that they were planning a summer vacation this year as girls only too, and when I asked my mother what about the vacation we normally take as a family, she told me that they can't afford to do both so they are just doing the girls only vacation this year. At this point I was very annoyed and had a loud argument with my mother and sister, telling them that it's really awful that twice a month they have group activities and specifically exclude me, and on top of that are now even taking vacations and excluding me. Nothing came of the argument and they wouldn't budge, so I decided I needed a break from my immediate family because they don't consider my feelings relevant. So I removed myself from the family group chat and deactivated my Facebook. Now my phone is being blown up and I'm being told that I'm immature and I need to grow up. I responded that a lot of grown people don't see much of their family at all and I'm just going to follow that example. Not the idiot. Your family sounds like it is comprised of bitter, man-hating women. Men probably aren't allowed any complaints in their minds, so however you are feeling doesn't matter. The absence of men in your family is by design and you being around is killing their strong woman vibe, although, I'd be willing to bet they don't hesitate to invite you over if something needs to be fixed around their houses. Just tell them that the next several family events are boys only and see if they realize their stupidity. You are the idiot, dude. You are 28. B-day parties I can understand, but why are you going on vacations with your family? Maybe since they are grown women and you are a grown man, they are just uncomfortable hanging around with an adult male for whatever reason. Maybe they want you to have a life outside your mother's skirts. Grow up. It's not immature to want to be around family, but at 28, you should be well aware that there are many things women can or cannot do in presence of a man that they can with other women. Not the idiot. If you are the only guy, then it's specifically excluding you. I'm assuming here no dad, sisters and aunties have no husbands or male kids, etc. Maybe this could be overlooked for girly film outings or similar, but birthdays and holidays are rather harsh. My stepmom and her 3 daughters would always have outings together and I wasn't allowed as I was too young. I'm 10 years younger than my next sister, but this persisted even into my 20s, so I eventually gave up asking. It's hurtful. Update. This last month has been kind of wild for me, so I haven't had an opportunity to update this until now. So the descriptions of my family and my family situation in this thread was specific enough that one of my family members found out about it and confronted me. Due to the fact that I had deactivated my Facebook and was only receiving text messages, I didn't realize what was happening before I was ambushed by it. My sister, oldest, confronted me about it and asked if it was me who made the thread, and I confirmed that it was. And she insisted I was being an idiot for airing the family's laundry like that. I responded that I in no way did that, as I was speaking very generally and never identified who my family was. This spread to my family and now the thread was shared on Facebook and everyone was shown. I was invited to a family meeting, we never have those, where I was sat in front of a firing squad of angry women who told me that what I did was wrong and demanded an apology. They said that I knew they weren't excluding me, and because I gave everyone that impression I owed them an apology. I replied that I absolutely did not know they were not excluding me, and included examples of things they did, such as the birthday dinner, going to an amusement park, and going to a baseball game. Once again, they characterized this as a girls-only event of fun where boys just weren't allowed or welcome because they wanted to talk about things guys wouldn't be interested in. I replied that she needs to stop saying guys because there is only one guy who would have been invited, and that's me. So what she's really saying, it is a no-op event, not a girls-only event. They explained that it wasn't excluding me because regardless of whether I was interested in the event, the conversation would have bored me because I'm not a girl. At this point we were going around in circles, so I just explained my perspective. I said that I'm the only male in our immediate family, when the people in my immediate family get together on a regular basis, not a one-off or once in a while, and don't include me, regardless of what they called it. I feel excluded. I explained that the breaking point was the family vacation, and that there was absolutely no reason to leave me out of a vacation I was always invited to, particularly when that's the only family vacation we do and they've stated they cannot afford a second one. At the end of this family meeting, I was never given an apology, no one tried to empathize with my perspective, and I was accused of many things that I didn't do by any reasonable interpretation. I told my mother and my sisters that we reached a breaking point in our relationship and that I was going to have no contact for a while. I told them I'm an adult, and I have my own life, and the reason I wanted to be involved was because I didn't want one of those family relationships where you only see your family on holidays. If that's not what my family wants, then it's okay, but I told them that I was not going to be involved with people who made me feel awful and intentionally leave me on the outside looking in of my own family. My mother/sisters told me that if I was going to lie about them to everyone, that they don't care. At this point, my relationship with my family is over. I left that family meeting and have not reactivated Facebook, and have not received any contact, and have not initiated any contact. Not the idiot. I'm very sorry you had to go through this experience, and facing a firing squad justifying why they can and should exclude you is just nuts. We don't get to choose our family. Hopefully, they will come to their senses eventually. That being said, there are lots of wonderful people in the world that would want to include you. It's just one of those things with family. I think you showed you cared by wanting to be involved with them. Their response was to find petty excuses for why you shouldn't be. If the family is reading this, you guys just lost someone who loved you enough to want to spend time with you. How can a mother exclude her own son? How can a sister not defend her own brother? Shame on you guys. It sounds like this guy is serious. Say goodbye to one of the only people that ever cared about you guys, because even if he does come back, it'll never be the same. I would never do this to my family. Honestly, you guys disgust me. So right now both of my kids, 16-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter, and my ex are extremely mad at me because I won't give up my appointed time with them. My son won't even talk to me and my daughter is crying all the time. A little backstory. Me and my ex divorced shortly after my daughter was born. I blame him for it and he blames me. I won't go into detail here. We ended up with a 50-50 custody agreement, switching every other week. While this was 8 years ago, we're still not on good terms. We rarely ever talk to each other outside of the kids, and I'm perfectly fine with that. One thing we have agreed on since the beginning though is that we don't plan things on days that aren't ours. And unless it's extremely important, we don't switch days or weeks. In the 8 years since we've been divorced, I have never asked him to have the kids on a day that isn't mine, and I've never given him one of my days even if he begged. Well, last week my ex contacted me and told me the good news. His parents are hosting a week-long family reunion in the summer at Disneyland and he wants to take the kids. Well, the problem is that it's on one of my weeks. He asked me to let the kids stay with him that week or to switch a week with me, and I shot him down. It's my week with them and I get to spend it with them. I told him if it's so important to him to reschedule, but he claims his parents can't do that and this is the only week that the whole family can go, and he told me that I need to think of them. I told him tough luck and hung up on him. Well, this last Sunday when my ex dropped the kids off with me, my son refused to talk to me at all and my daughter wouldn't even look at me. When I asked my ex what was wrong, he refused to talk to me, only saying ask them in a snarky tone before leaving. When I asked my daughter what was wrong, she burst into tears and said that I was not letting daddy take them to Disneyland. Asking my son, who still refuses to talk to me, It turns out that my ex told them I was not letting them go to Disneyland with him. He's trying to paint me as the bad guy. I sat both of them down last night to talk to them and explain it was my week with them, but they refused to listen to me. My daughter just cried and my son told me I'm only doing this to get back at my ex. I'm not though. I think it's unfair for him to do this when his parents scheduled it during my time with them. I demanded an apology from my ex and him to set things straight, but he refuses, and his last text to me was can't tell them the truth because they already know it. I'm so angry right now. Am I the idiot because my ex scheduled something during my time with my kids? How is it my fault that I'm only using my right to spend time with them? You are the idiot. Switch the week. Your kids have every right to be angry, and this is the kind of thing that kids will remember forever. Your former in-laws, aka your kids' grandparents, have a whole life that doesn't revolve around you and your ex's petty squabbles. They have a family trip planned, and guess who's part of their family? Your children, who are innocent of any wrongdoing. It's not their fault you hate their dad, or that the trip was planned on an off week. Do right by your children, and let them go on the trip. You will regret it if you don't. Trust me. You are the idiot. Having a custody agreement and trying to stick to it whenever possible is great, but to be this completely inflexible is ridiculous. Stuff comes up that doesn't always fit the schedule. He's offering to trade a week with you, not steal a week of your time. You seem to be proud of the fact that he's begged you to be flexible before and you refused. Why would you brag about this? If you really think your kids won't resent this behavior for years to come, you're an idiot. You are the idiot. I'm 17, and my parents are divorced and my siblings and I spend 1 week at each of their houses at a time. My mom would never do this to us. If it's for our benefit, she would swap weeks with my dad, especially if it was for something like going on holiday. It's not as if he is wanting to take your days with your kids, it would be a swap. I completely understand how angry your kids are. You are completely at fault and being selfish here. I meet a girl on Tinder named Kim and we exchange a few messages before deciding to meet up for coffee. The date is going okay, although it was a bit boring. We grabbed our cup of Starbucks, I paid, we chatted for a bit, and decided to drive to a cool little outdoor park to go for a walk. We drive around 30 minutes to this park, listened to a bit of music on the way, still getting to know each other a bit, and everything was going fine. I parked, we got out of the car and walked a bit, still chatting, nothing deep, but the usual what you do for work, hobbies, etc. I had to take a leak, so I go to the bathroom, and when I walked out, I noticed she was talking to a guy and he was being very flirty, and when I walked up to them, he asked who I was and she responded, "Oh, he's just my friend, ha ha ha," and he said he wanted to grab her number to go out for a drink sometime. She was all too happy to give him the number and they hug with a kiss on the cheek before he leaves. At this point, I was just over it. I wasn't that interested in her, and if she's the type of person to show interest in another guy and exchange info in front of me, I have no future with her. I decided to make up some random excuse to get away from her and just got in my car and drove home. I didn't want to have to deal with her company for a 40-minute drive and was over it. Oh well, I honestly feel like a bit of an idiot, but also feel it was just in a sense considering what happened. Everyone's the idiot here. She is an idiot more, for obvious reasons, but you are an idiot too for handling this immaturely. It just feels very childish to me to just run off and disappear. I don't know how old you are, but it's something I would expect from a high schooler, not a grown man. Also, you both idiots for thinking it's a good idea to drive 40 minutes on the first date for coffee. Are you insane? Let this be a lesson to both of you for why you should never do that again. You are the idiot. It's the first date. No one has a claim on anyone just yet. Especially if you met on Tinder. You don't leave someone in a park a half hour from your starting place without even a comment. Did she have a cell phone? Was there coverage? I think a more respectable move would have been to give her whatever excuse you want about why it's time to go and let her know she can ride with you or get dropped off along the way, but that the date's over. No idiots here, it's a barely off the ground Tinder date and absolutely nothing about it matters. You guys are dramatically incompatible. It wasn't dark out according to comments, it was a well-attended public park where it's perfectly safe to walk alone. She was not in any danger. You don't have to continue a date if you don't want to. On the other hand, we have no idea what was going through her head. She might be into polyamory or she thinks making people jealous is cool or whatever. Chalk it up to being a bad date and don't think about it again. I dated her for about 3 months. She was really gorgeous, confident, and free-spirited. I loved how silly and bold she was. It was something that made her really unique in my book. This whole thing happened a month ago. I had a really big presentation and I got really tensed. I had the opportunity to invite my GF to the function, and so I did, on the condition that she would not embarrass me and not drink, because she had a habit of drinking a lot during such occasions and losing control. Well, turns out she made fun of me just because she thought it was hilarious. She burped loudly when I was talking to my coworkers, and told about how I didn't even have love because of the stress. She proceeded to ask my coworkers if they could resist her body. They were obviously uncomfortable too. The presentation ultimately went horribly bad at first because she kept making stupid silly faces backstage, but then I just ignored her for the rest of the night and all went well. The first thing I did when we sat in the car was I said that I was breaking up with her that night. She told me she was just trying to lighten my mood. I refused to let her touch me then and dropped her off at her building. She said she wasn't going to go till we sorted out the issue. I just told her to get out. Then I gave her a text message saying I was sorry for being rude to her but we weren't compatible, and to just move on with her life. Fast forward to today, I bumped into a friend of hers who said that I had been an idiot for her to break up with her for being silly at a gathering and that no one could believe I turned out to be such an idiot. Now I am already seeing someone, but this interaction made me question if I had indeed been a jerk. An unbiased opinion would help. Not the idiot. Maybe she was being silly, but it was inappropriate to bring up your private life at your work function and really awful when she tried to distract you. You definitely are incompatible if she thinks that behavior would lighten your stressed out mood. Hopefully, this will be a learning experience for her and she will mature. I'm glad you've moved on and were honest with yourself about what you need from a partner. Not the idiot. It's not even about this one night that was important to you. It's the fact that she has a drinking problem that she is not working on and doesn't respect you enough to act courteous and more professional when around your coworkers. I like drinking, but I would never go overboard at a spouse's work function, especially when you have the spotlight on you because of your speech. Ignore her friends, they're her friends, so, of course, they will be biased. You even dropped her off at her house. I would have left. Not the idiot. The presentation was important to you and she didn't respect that. That I think was what she couldn't understand when you broke up with her, which means it's a good idea that you did. My son knows how cranky I get when I'm stressed and gets out of the way and keeps an eye out how he can support me in the littlest of ways. I fill out the support role when it's the other way around. What she did was not just misbehave, she made it about her and spoke about things she shouldn't do in a corporate setting.